Jake Morrison walked into his office on Tuesday morning with a cup of coffee in one hand and a stack of case files in the other. He had been working for the FBI for 15 years, and most of those years had been spent looking into strange and unusual cases. His department was called the Paranormal Investigation Division, and Jake had seen everything from people who claimed they could read minds to objects that moved by themselves. But the file that was waiting on his desk that morning was different from anything he had ever seen before. The file was about a 19-year-old girl named Maya Collins. She lived in Portland, Oregon, and went to Portland State University. At first glance, she seemed like any other college student. She lived in a small apartment near campus, worked part-time at a coffee shop, and studied mathematics. Were good, but not perfect. Her professors liked her because she was quiet and polite. The problem was that Maya had started solving math problems that were supposed to be impossible. It all started 3 weeks ago when Professor Alan Burke was grading homework for his advanced calculus class. Maya had turned in solutions to problems that had been puzzling mathematicians for decades. At first, Professor Burke thought Maya was cheating. Maybe she had found the answers online or gotten help from a graduate student. But when Professor Burke looked closer, he realized something strange. Maya was not just copying answers. She was creating completely new ways to solve the problems. Her methods were so advanced that Professor Burke could barely understand them. And when he checked her work with other math professors, they were amazed too. Professor Burke called Maya into his office and asked her how she had solved the problems. Maya looked confused by the question. She said the answers just came to her. She would look at a problem, and after a few minutes, she would know the solution. She could not explain how or why it happened. Professor Burke was worried. He had been teaching mathematics for 25 years and he had never seen anything like this. He decided to give Maya some harder problems to solve. These were equations that research teams at major universities had been working on for years without success. Maya solved them all in less than an hour. That was when Professor Burke called the FBI. Jake read through the file carefully. Dr. Lisa Grant, the FBI's chief science expert, had already looked at Maya's work. Dr. Grant had a PhD in theoretical physics and had worked with some of the smartest people in the world. Her report was clear. Maya was not cheating, and she was not using any kind of computer or outside help. The girl's mind was doing something that should not be possible. Dr. Grant had also arranged for Maya to have brain scans at a nearby hospital. The doctors found unusual activity in parts of Maya's brain that were connected to pattern recognition and abstract thinking. But the patterns they saw were unlike anything in medical books. Maya's brain was working in ways that scientists had never seen before. Jake picked up his phone and called his partner, Agent Carol Webb. Carol had been working with Jake for 5 years, and she was one of the best investigators he knew. "Carol, we have a new case," Jake said when she answered. "I need you to come to my office right away." 20 minutes later, Carol was sitting across from Jake's desk, reading through Maya's file. "This is incredible," Carol said. "Are we sure? This girl is not some kind of genius who has been hiding her abilities." "That's what I thought too," Jake replied. "But look at her school records." Maya was always a good student, but nothing special. Her SAT scores were average. Her high school math teacher said she was smart, but not exceptional. Then suddenly 3 weeks ago, she starts solving problems that Nobel Prize winners cannot figure out. Carol flipped through more pages in the file. "What do we know about her family? Her parents are normal people. Her father works at a car dealership, and her mother is a nurse at a local hospital. Her older brother is in the military, stationed in Germany. No history of genius-level intelligence in the family." Carol looked up from the file. "So what do you think is happening here?" Jake leaned back in his chair. "I don't know, but Dr. Grant thinks we need to watch Maya closely. If her abilities are real, and if they keep getting stronger, this could be bigger than anything we have ever dealt with." That afternoon, Jake and Carol drove to Portland State University. They wanted to see Maya for themselves and talk to Professor Burke in person. The campus was busy with students walking between classes, and Jake noticed how normal everything looked. It was hard to believe that one of these ordinary-looking students might be changing the world of mathematics. Professor Burke met them in his office. He was a thin man in his 50s, with gray hair and thick glasses. He looked tired and worried. "Thank you for coming," Professor Burke said. "I have been thinking about this for weeks, and I still cannot understand what is happening." "Tell us about Maya," Carol said.
Oh.
"What is she like as a student?" Professor Burke sat down behind his desk. "Maya is quiet and polite. She sits in the front row and takes careful notes. She never causes trouble, and she always turns in her homework on time. Until 3 weeks ago, she was just another good student."
How it changed?
Jake asked. Professor Burke pulled out a folder filled with papers. "She turned in this assignment," he said, handing Jake a sheet covered with mathematical equations. "A problem I gave the class was difficult, but solvable for advanced students." Maya solved it, but she also included 3 additional solutions that I had never seen before. When I showed her work to my colleagues, they said her methods could change how we think about calculus. Jake looked at the paper, but the equations meant nothing to him. "Did you ask Maya where she learned these methods?" "Yes, and that is the strangest part," Maya said. "She did not learn them anywhere. She said the solutions just appeared in her mind while she was working on the problem." She seemed as surprised as I was. Carol leaned forward. "Has anyone else noticed changes in Maya's behavior?" Professor Burke nodded. Her other professors have started talking. Maya is taking classes in physics, chemistry, and biology. In each class, she has begun solving problems that are far beyond her level. Her biology professor told me that Maya predicted the results of an experiment before they ran it. Her chemistry professor said Maya suggested a new way to combine molecules. That could lead to better medicines. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. This was bigger than just mathematics. Maya was showing advanced knowledge in multiple fields of science. "Where's Maya now?" Jake asked. Professor Burke checked his watch. "She should be in the library. She spends most of her free time there, working on problems that I give her." Jake and Carol looked at each other. They both knew that their investigation was just beginning, and they had no idea where it would lead them. Professor Burke, Jake, said, "We need you to keep this conversation private. Do not tell Maya or anyone else that we were here. We will be in touch soon." As they left the university, Jake could not shake the feeling that Maya Collins was going to change everything. They thought they knew about human intelligence. The question was whether that change would be good or dangerous for the rest of the world. Jake Morrison spent the next week watching Maya Collins from a distance. The FBI had set up surveillance cameras around the university campus and near Maya's apartment. They also had agents following her during the day to see what she did and who she talked to. What they discovered was more strange than anything Jake had expected. Maya's daily routine was simple. She went to classes in the morning, worked at the coffee shop in the afternoon, and spent her evenings in the library or her apartment. She had few friends and rarely went to parties or social events. She seemed like the most ordinary college, a student in the world, but the surveillance cameras caught something extraordinary on Wednesday evening. Maya was sitting alone in the library, working on homework. The camera showed her staring at a blank piece of paper for several minutes. Then suddenly, she began writing quickly, filling the page with complex equations. She wrote for 20 minutes without stopping, never looking at any books or notes. Dr. Lisa Grant reviewed the footage and was amazed by what she saw. Maya was not just solving math problems. She was discovering new scientific principles that had never been written down before. "Jake, you need to see this," Dr. Grant said on Thursday morning. She had called Jake to her laboratory at FBI headquarters. In Washington, Dr. Grant was a small woman with short brown hair and intelligent eyes. She had been working with the FBI for 10 years, and Jake trusted her judgment completely. Dr. Grant showed Jake a video from the surveillance camera. In the video, Maya was walking across campus when she suddenly stopped. She pulled out a notebook and began writing. The camera was too far away to see what she was writing, but Maya looked like she was copying something from the air in front of her. "What do you think she is looking at?" Jake asked. "That is what worries me," Dr. Grant replied. "Our analysis shows that Maya is not looking at anything visible, but her eye movements suggest that she is reading something. It is as if she can see information that is not there." Dr. Grant pulled up another video. This one showed Maya in her apartment, sitting at her desk. Maya was working on a chemistry problem when she suddenly looked up at the ceiling. For 5 minutes, she stared at the same spot. Then she wrote down a formula that, according to Dr. Grant, could revolutionize how medicines are made. "Jake, I think Maya is receiving information from somewhere else," Dr. Grant said. "I cannot figure out where it is coming from." Jake felt confused and worried. "What do you mean?" Dr. Grant turned to her computer and pulled up a series of graphs. "We have been monitoring electromagnetic signals around Maya. Most of the time, the readings are normal. But when Maya starts solving these impossible problems, we detect faint signals that seem to come from outside Earth's atmosphere." Jake stared. "At the graphs? You saying that Maya is getting help from space?" "I am saying that something is sending information to Maya's brain, and that something is not on Earth." That afternoon, Jake received a phone call that changed everything. The caller was Maya Collins herself. "Agent Morrison," Maya said in a quiet voice. "I know you have been watching me. I think it is time we talked." Jake was surprised. The FBI had been very careful to keep their surveillance secret. "How did you know we were watching you?" "The same way I know the answers to all these math problems," Maya replied. "Information just comes to me. Can we meet somewhere private?" An hour later, Jake and Carol were sitting across from Maya in a small conference room at the Portland FBI office. Maya looked nervous, but determined. She was a pretty girl with long black hair and dark eyes. She seemed much older than 19. "Want to help you understand what is happening to me?" Maya said. "But first, I need to know that you will believe what I tell you." Carol leaned forward. "We have seen your work, Maya. We know that you are doing things that should be impossible. We are ready to listen to anything you have to say." Maya took a deep breath. 3 weeks ago, I started having dreams. In these dreams, I was in a place that looked like a huge library. But instead of books, the shelves were filled with glowing lights. Each light contained knowledge about science, mathematics, and other subjects. Jake and Carol listened carefully as Maya continued. "In the dreams, there were beings who looked almost human, but not quite. They were taller than us, and their eyes were larger. Told me that they had been watching Earth for thousands of years. They called themselves the Watchers." Maya paused and looked at Jake and Carol to see their reaction. When they did not interrupt, she continued. "The Watchers told me that they had been waiting for humans to reach a certain level of development. They said that when the time was right, they would choose certain people to receive advanced knowledge." "I am one of those people," Carol asked. "Why were you chosen?" Maya shook her head. "I do not know. The Watchers said that some humans have genetic markers that make them able to receive their transmissions. These markers have been dormant for generations, but now they are being activated." Jake felt his heart racing. "Are there other people like you?" "Yes," Maya said. "The Watchers showed me visions of others around the world who are receiving knowledge. A farmer in Kansas is developing new ways to grow crops that will feed millions of people. A teenager in India is creating art that contains hidden scientific formulas. An old teacher in Germany is writing poems that have blueprints for clean energy." Dr. Grant had been listening to the conversation through a speaker in the conference room. Her voice came through clearly. "Maya, can you communicate with these Watchers directly?" Maya nodded. "Sometimes. But mostly, the knowledge just appears in my mind when I need it. It is like having access to a vast database of information." Jake asked the question that had been bothering him since this all started. "What do the Watchers want from us?" Maya's expression became serious. "They want to test humanity. They want to see if we are ready to join other intelligent species in the galaxy. But first we have to prove that we can work together and use advanced knowledge wisely." Carol asked. "What kind of test?" "I do not know yet," Maya replied. "But the Watchers told me that the test is coming soon. When it arrives, all of humanity will need to participate. The people like me who are receiving knowledge will help, but everyone will have a role to play." Jake felt overwhelmed by what he was hearing. If Maya was telling the truth, then humanity was about to face its biggest challenge ever. "Maya," Jake said, "are you willing to work with us? You want to understand what is happening and help prepare for whatever is coming?" Maya smiled for the first time since they had started talking. "That is why I called you Agent Morrison. I cannot do this alone. Humanity will need to work together if we want to pass the test. As Jake and Carol left the FBI office that evening, they knew that their investigation had become something much bigger than they had ever imagined. Maya Collins was not just a girl with unusual abilities. She was humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and the future of the entire human race might depend on what happened next. 2 weeks after Maya's meeting with the FBI, everything changed. Jake Morrison was having breakfast at his hotel in Portland. When his phone started buzzing with emergency alerts, he turned on the television and saw news reports from around the world. Massive objects had appeared in Earth's orbit overnight. The objects were clearly artificial, but they looked nothing like any spacecraft humans had ever built. There were 12 objects in total, each one the size of a small city. They were silver and smooth, with no visible engines or weapons. They hung silently in space, not responding to any attempts at communication from Earth's governments. Within hours, military forces around the world were on high alert. News reporters were calling it either first contact with aliens or the beginning of an invasion. People in major cities were panicking, and governments were holding emergency meetings. Jake's phone rang. It was Maya. "Agent Morrison, you need to come to the university right away," Maya said. Her voice sounded urgent but not frightened. "The test has begun." Jake and Carol rushed to Portland State University, where they found Maya in Professor Burke's office. Maya was sitting calmly at a desk, writing in a notebook. Professor Burke looked confused and worried. "Maya has been like this for 2 hours," Professor Burke told Jake. "She says she is receiving instructions about what humanity needs to do." Maya looked up from her notebook. "The objects in space are not weapons," she said. "They're a part of a puzzle that we need to solve. The Watchers are testing whether humans can work together to find solutions to complex problems." Carol asked what kind of puzzle. Maya showed them her notebook. It was filled with diagrams and equations that looked incredibly complex. "The Watchers have given us several challenges. Each challenge tests a different aspect of human intelligence and cooperation. We have to solve them all before they will. Consider us ready to join their community." Jake felt overwhelmed. "How much time do we have?" 30 days, Maya replied. "And we cannot solve these challenges alone. We need scientists, engineers, world leaders, and ordinary people all working together." Dr. Grant arrived from Washington a few hours later. She had been studying the objects in space and trying to understand what they were. When Maya showed her the notebook, Dr. Grant's eyes widened. "Maya, these diagrams show how the objects in space are connected," Dr. Grant said. "They form a network that is waiting for input from Earth." Maya nodded. "The first challenge is about energy. Humanity needs to design a power source that can provide clean electricity for an entire planet without damaging the environment. Once we solve that, the objects will give us the next challenge." Over the next few days, Jake found himself coordinating the strangest operation of his career. The FBI was working with governments around the world to organize teams of scientists and engineers. Maya and the other enhanced humans were serving as translators, helping regular scientists understand the advanced concepts needed to solve the challenges. Jake learned that there were 43 enhanced humans around the world. Each one was receiving different pieces of information from the Watchers. A woman named Susan Kim in South Korea was getting knowledge about advanced materials science. A man named Carlos Rodriguez in Mexico was receiving information about sustainable agriculture. A teenager named Alex Johnson in Canada was learning about space technology. The first challenge turned out to be incredibly difficult. The world's best scientists worked day and night trying to design a fusion reactor that would be safe, efficient, and clean. Traditional fusion technology was close, but not good enough to meet the Watchers' requirements. The breakthrough came when Maya, the other enhanced humans, began working together. Even though they were in different countries, they could somehow share information through their connection to the Watchers. Susan Kim provided knowledge about materials that could contain the fusion reaction. Carlos Rodriguez contributed ideas about how to distribute the energy efficiently. Alex Johnson designed systems to prevent accidents. After 2 weeks of intense work, the international team of scientists successfully tested their new fusion reactor. It produced more energy than any power source in human history, with no pollution or dangerous waste. The moment the test was successful, the objects in space responded. They sent a signal to Earth that every radio and television picked up. The signal contained the second challenge. Maya translated the new challenge for Jake and the other agents. The Watchers want us to solve the problem of disease. We need to develop medical treatments that can cure any illness and help humans live longer, healthier lives. This challenge was even harder than the first one. Doctors and medical researchers around the world had been working on cures for cancer, heart disease, and other illnesses for decades. Now they had to find solutions in just 2 weeks, but something amazing was happening. The success of the first challenge had brought people together in ways that Jake had never seen before. Countries that had been enemies were sharing research. Scientists who had been competing with each other were now collaborating. Ordinary people were volunteering to help in any way they could. Maya explained that this cooperation was exactly what the Watchers were looking for. They do not just want to see if we are smart enough to solve difficult problems, she told Jake. They want to see if we can work together as one species instead of fighting each other. The medical challenge was solved when researchers in different countries combined their knowledge. A team in Japan discovered how to program the human immune system to fight any disease. Scientists in Brazil figured out how to repair damaged organs using the body's own cells. Doctors in Switzerland developed ways to extend human life while maintaining good health. Again, the objects in space responded when the challenge was completed. The third challenge was about food and environment. Humanity needed to find ways to feed billions of people without destroying forests, polluting oceans, or using up natural resources. Jake watched in amazement as people around the world worked together to solve this problem too. Farmers shared ancient techniques with modern scientists. Engineers designed vertical farms that could grow food in cities. Biologists found ways to clean polluted soil and water. By the end of the 4th week, humanity had solved all the challenges the Watchers had given them. But Jake sensed that the real test was just beginning. Maya called Jake to the university. One final time, she looked different now, more confident and mature. Agent Morrison, the Watchers are ready to make their final decision about humanity. But first, they want to meet with us directly. Jake felt his heart pounding. What do you mean? Maya smiled. Tomorrow, representatives from the Watchers will come to Earth. They want to speak with our leaders and decide whether we are ready to join their community of intelligent species. Jake realized that everything they had been through was just preparation for what was about to happen. Humanity was about to meet its cosmic neighbors, and the future of the entire human race would depend on that meeting. The next morning, Jake Morrison woke up to a world that had changed forever. One of the massive objects in space had moved closer to Earth during the night. It now hung silently above the Pacific Ocean, just outside the atmosphere. Every news channel in the world was showing the same image of the enormous silver craft. Jake's phone was ringing constantly with calls from FBI headquarters, world leaders, and military commanders. Everyone wanted to know what would happen next. But Jake had learned to trust Maya's guidance. So he ignored most of the calls and drove straight to the university. Maya was waiting for him in Professor Burke's office. But she was not alone. Standing next to her were 3 beings that Jake immediately knew were not human. The Watchers were tall and graceful, about 7 feet in height. Their skin was pale blue and their eyes were larger than human eyes, with a silver color that seemed to glow softly. They wore simple white robes and moved with fluid motions that reminded Jake of dancers. Agent Morrison, Maya said calmly, I would like you to meet Ambassador Zalin, Ambassador Kira, and Ambassador Neth. They are representatives of the Watchers Council. Jake felt his heart racing, but he forced himself to remain calm. Welcome to Earth, he said. Not sure what else to say to the first aliens he had ever met, Ambassador Zalin stepped forward and spoke in perfect English. Agent Morrison, we are honored to meet you. Maya has told us about your work to help humanity understand what was happening. Your cooperation has been vital to the success of this process. Carol arrived a few minutes later, followed by Dr. Grant and several other FBI officials. Within an hour, the small office was filled with government representatives who had flown in from around the world. The President of the United States was participating through a video call. Along with other world leaders, Ambassador Kira addressed the group. We want to explain why we have been testing humanity and what we are offering your species. She gestured, and suddenly the air in the room filled with images that looked like holograms. The images showed planets, star systems, and civilizations that Jake could never have imagined. The galaxy is home to 47 intelligent species, Ambassador Kira continued. We have formed an alliance that shares knowledge, resources, and technology. Each species brings unique strengths to our community. Ambassador Neth spoke next. Humans have impressed us with your ability to work together when faced with challenges. In just 4 weeks, your species solved problems that took other civilizations decades to figure out. But more importantly, you did it through cooperation. Instead of conflict, Jake asked the question that everyone was thinking. What happens now? Ambassador Zaylon smiled, an expression that looked strange but somehow warm on his alien features. We are offering humanity membership in our Galactic Alliance. But this is not a decision that your leaders can make alone. Every adult human must have a voice in this choice. Dr. Grant leaned forward. What would membership mean for Earth? We would share technologies that could solve most of your remaining problems, Ambassador Kira replied. Clean energy, advanced medicine, space travel, and knowledge that would help your civilization grow and prosper. But Ambassador Neth added, membership also comes with responsibilities. Alliance members cannot wage war against each other. You would need to eliminate poverty and hunger on your planet. You would need to protect your environment and treat all living beings with respect. The President's voice came through the video call. How much time do we have to decide? We will give humanity 60 days to discuss this offer and vote, Ambassador, Zaylin said. Every person on Earth who is 18 years old or older will be able to participate in the decision. Over the next 2 months, Jake watched as humanity went through the biggest debate in its history. The enhanced humans, including Maya, traveled around the world to explain what alliance membership would mean. They held meetings in cities, towns, and villages, answering questions and helping people understand the choice they faced. Some people were excited about the possibility of joining a galactic community. They looked forward to new technologies and the chance to explore space. Were worried about losing human independence and culture. They feared that Earth would become just another planet controlled by aliens. The debate was sometimes heated, but it remained peaceful. Jake was amazed to see how the experience of working together during the Watcher's test had changed people. Instead of arguing and fighting, most humans tried to listen to each other and find common ground. Maya spent most of her time answering questions about what the Watchers were really like. They are not trying to control us, she explained at a large meeting in New York. They want us to join them as equals. But they also want to make sure we are ready for the responsibilities that come with advanced technology. As the day of the vote approached, polls showed that the decision would be very close. About half of humanity wanted to join the alliance, while the other half preferred to remain independent. Jake voted early on the morning of the decision day. As he left the polling station, he realized that he was not sure which outcome he preferred. Both choices had benefits and risks for humanity's future. The votes were counted by an international committee with representatives from every country on Earth. The Watchers provided technology to ensure that the counting was completely accurate and fair. When the results were announced, humanity had chosen to join the Galactic Alliance by a margin of just 3%. Ambassador Zaylin addressed the world one final time. We are pleased to welcome humanity into our community. Your species will bring valuable perspectives and abilities to our alliance. The changes began immediately. The Watchers shared technologies that ended hunger and poverty within months. They provided clean energy systems that stopped pollution and reversed climate change. They gave humans access to medical treatments that eliminated most diseases and extended human life. But perhaps the biggest change was in how Humans thought about themselves. No longer was Earth divided into separate countries competing with each other. Humanity had become one unified species. Working together as members of a galactic community, Maya Collins became Earth's first ambassador to the Alliance. She moved to a space station that served as the Alliance's headquarters, representing humanity in discussions with dozens of other intelligent species. Jake Morrison was promoted to head a new FBI division that worked with alien species to solve problems throughout the galaxy. He often thought about how his investigation of one unusual college student had led to humanity's greatest adventure. 1 year after first contact, Jake visited Maya at the space station. As they looked out at the stars together, Maya smiled and said, "This is just the beginning, Agent Morrison. The galaxy is full of wonders that we are only starting to discover." Jake nodded, knowing that Maya was right. Humanity had passed its first test, but their journey among the stars had only just begun.